Every man knows the feeling. You're standing there in the middle of a conversation that started small but somehow spiraled into a storm. You're trying to explain yourself, trying to clarify what you meant, trying to get her to see that you're not the villain she's making you out to be. At first, you think logic will save you. You think if you just lay out the facts clearly, she'll calm down, see reason, and everything will be fine. But it never works like that. The more you explain, the less she listens. The more detail you add, the more she twists your words. You try harder, you talk faster, you defend yourself stronger, but all of it only makes things worse. Her voice gets louder, her emotions intensify, and you can feel the argument slipping further and further away from any kind of resolution. By the time it's over, you're not even sure what you were fighting about in the first place. You're exhausted, frustrated, and questioning why you even tried. This is the trap so many men fall into. They think the answer to emotional chaos is logical precision. They believe that if they just say the right words, if they just phrase it the perfect way, they'll finally break through. But women don't argue for facts when emotions are running high. In those moments, feelings are the only truth. When you argue, you validate those feelings as the center of the conversation. You step directly into her battlefield, a battlefield where emotion always beats logic. And once you're in that space, you've already lost. It doesn't matter how right you are, how consistent you've been, or how strong your evidence is. When emotion rules, logic dies. And most men never learn that lesson until it drains them completely. The biggest mistake men make in relationships is believing that every conflict requires debate. They treat disagreements like a courtroom, convinced that if they simply build a solid case, the verdict will swing in their favor. But with women, debate is a trap. It's a bottomless pit that drains your energy, erodes your authority, and slowly breaks down the respect she once had for you. You can bring up every fact, every reminder of what you said yesterday, even screenshots or proof of your consistency, it won't matter. Because when she's emotional, truth isn't measured by evidence. Truth is measured by what she feels in that moment. And when you argue, you're agreeing to fight on her terms. You're saying her emotions are the battlefield, and by stepping onto it, you've already surrendered your advantage. This is why arguments with women feel endless. You think you're close to proving your point, but then the subject shifts. Something you said weeks ago is dragged into the spotlight. A small detail gets magnified into the entire issue. Suddenly you're not even arguing about the same thing anymore. That's because logic doesn't anchor her in these moments, feelings do. And feelings move like waves, unpredictable and shifting with intensity. Debate, then, isn't resolution. It's fuel. The more you argue, the stronger the storm gets. She's not looking for you to outthink her. She's looking for you to meet her energy. And when you do, you're no longer leading. You're following her chaos. The men who fall for this trap end up stuck in cycles that never end. Hours wasted, voices raised, emotions drained. And at the end of it, no clarity, no peace, only damage. That's why debate with a woman is never a win. It's always a loss disguised as progress. The man who truly understands women knows that the goal is not to avoid conflict, but to rise above it. Conflict will always exist, it's a natural part of human connection. But whether that conflict becomes destructive or constructive depends entirely on how you respond. Most men assume they need to meet fire with fire. If she raises her voice, they raise theirs. If she gets emotional, they push back with logic. If she pushes harder, they push back just as hard. But this only turns tension into combat. The truth is, the strongest man in the room is the one who doesn't get pulled into that spiral. He refuses to fight on her terms. He refuses to let the storm dictate his state of mind. Instead, he stands calm, steady, and rooted. Silence becomes his weapon. Stillness becomes his shield. His calm presence carries more weight than any clever words or sharp comebacks ever could. Because when she comes at him emotional, she expects escalation. She expects chaos to create chaos. But when he doesn't react, when he remains grounded and unshaken, the entire cycle short-circuits. Arguments can only survive if they're fed energy, and when you feed them nothing, they starve. This doesn't mean you ignore her or pretend nothing is happening. It means you listen, you observe, and you speak with calm certainty when needed. You let the storm blow itself out without fueling it. That's how you maintain your frame. That's how you lead. Calmness isn't weakness. Silence isn't surrender. They are forms of control, and control is what commands respect. The man who stays composed while she loses control shows her something she secretly craves, an anchor strong enough to withstand her waves. That is real authority. Boundaries are where real strength is shown, because they do what arguments never can. Arguments are about convincing. They are built on trying to change someone's mind, to persuade, to prove. But boundaries don't persuade, they declare. A boundary is short, calm, and final. It doesn't require yelling, long explanations, or endless defense. It simply sets the standard. I won't be spoken to like that. If you want to continue this conversation, we'll do it calmly. If you walk away, don't come back until you're ready to be respectful. These are not requests. They're not openings for debate. They're standards. And when a man enforces standards, he no longer needs to fight. The mistake most men make is thinking authority comes from overpowering her in an argument. They think if they can outtalk her, outshout her, or outlast her, they've won. But all that really proves is that her chaos has the power to pull him out of his calm. And when she sees that, her respect fades. What restores respect is not noise, but quiet certainty. Boundaries spoken once, calmly, without flinching. That's leadership. Boundaries protect your energy and your frame. They stop you from being dragged into emotional combat where you'll always lose. They shift the focus from endless arguments to simple consequences. You don't need her agreement to enforce them. You don't need her approval. You simply act on them. And the beauty of it is that women naturally adjust to boundaries, because they crave the strength behind them. A man who sets and enforces boundaries shows he has control not just over her, but over himself. And the man who controls himself never needs to fight for control of anyone else. That's why boundaries always outweigh battles. Women will always test you, and those tests come in many forms. Sometimes it's a small comment said with attitude. Sometimes it's an emotional outburst that seems to come from nowhere. Sometimes it's pushing against the very standards you've set just to see if you'll bend. These tests are not random. They are ways of asking questions she can't say out loud. Can you stay steady when I lose control? Can you hold the frame when I push against it? Can you lead when I resist you? At the core of every test is this unspoken need. She wants to know if your strength is real or if it collapses under pressure. Most men fail these tests because they take them personally. They think she's attacking them, disrespecting them, or trying to tear them down. And in reacting emotionally, in arguing back, in trying to defend their pride, they prove exactly what she's looking for: weakness. But the man who refuses to argue, who stays calm in the face of her storm, communicates strength without saying a word. His steadiness answers the test louder than shouting ever could. When you don't match her chaos, something powerful happens. She burns herself out while you remain grounded. And when she sees you're still standing, unbothered, her respect grows. She may not thank you. She may not even realize it consciously. But she feels it. She feels safer with you because she knows her storm can't move you. That safety is what deepens trust and desire. The truth is, women don't respect the man who fights harder. They respect the man who doesn't need to fight at all. Passing her tests isn't about words, it's about proving with calm action that you're the anchor, not the wave. Mastery over conflict doesn't mean avoiding it. It means transforming it. Strong men understand that conflict is part of every relationship, but chaos is optional. The weak man reacts, he yells, he argues, he explains endlessly, hoping logic will fix what emotion has broken. He wastes hours locked in battles that never lead to resolution, only exhaustion. But the strong man sees conflict differently. He doesn't fight to be right. He doesn't fight to win the moment. He stands above it, steady, calm, and firm in his standards. That is what gives him real power. When you refuse to be dragged into chaos, you protect not only your own energy but hers as well. Because when a woman is emotional, she'll often say things she doesn't mean, words she'll later regret. If you throw words back at her in anger, the damage doubles. Suddenly, it's not just her storm but yours too, colliding until nothing is left but destruction. But when you stay calm, when you refuse to add fuel, her storm eventually burns out on its own. And when the smoke clears, she sees the truth: you never lost control, she did. That realization deepens her respect more than anything you could have argued in the heat of the moment. This is why never fighting is not weakness, it's mastery. It's proving that no matter how wild things get, your foundation doesn't move. And the man whose foundation cannot be shaken is the man who earns lasting respect. Women may test you, push you, even try to provoke chaos, but when they see it doesn't work, they stop. Respect kills conflict. And a woman doesn't fight the man she respects, she follows him. That is the peace earned by calm leadership.